the sound. Ringo TV. Ringo TV. Ringo TV.
Welcome to another edition of Black Male Advice TV. I'm your host, Ringo. Make sure you click the like button, subscribe, and support the content.
Welcome to the show, Black Male Advice TV. We are back with another video for you. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the subject of how do I make up with my ex? How do I make up with my ex? It's a particular topic that a lot of times we need advice on, because we may not know exactly how to go about making up with an ex. Now, I don't want to waste any time getting into this. When it comes to making up with an ex, the first thing we have to examine is, do the ex want to make up with you? Because sometimes we may want to do something, but if the other person don't want to do the same, then how are we going to meet? It's all about both parties having a similar desire. Do your ex want to make up with you? That's an interesting question. And the answer to that can only come about if you are somehow communicating with them. I feel that when there is a breakup, or when people break up, right? A lot of times it's over different issues, and people need space to breathe. Sometimes that space actually teach people what they really need. Sometimes it makes them realize if the person is even worth being with. And sometimes it can give them the space to say that they don't really want the person around because the person's no good. So it really is one of those situations where, in order for you to know how to make up with your ex, you have to have some sort of communication with them. So the real question is, are you communicating with them? Do you say hello? Do you sort of give them a shout, or just say, hey, how you doing? I'm just kind of checking in on you. Little things like that can keep the door open, so to speak. And a lot of times you might have certain thoughts and feelings of wanting to be back with them, but you need to also know, do they feel the same way? Now, sometimes you're going to have to just put yourself out there. If you're a brother and you're trying to get back with your ex, sometimes you may have to put yourself out there to be the first one to take the initiative on seeing if there's a possibility that there can be a rekindling of that flame. If you're a sister and you're desiring to get back with your ex, you're going to have to somehow step out of your comfort zone and say hello, or do something that can get the attention of the ex so that they can see that you're trying to communicate. Because, at the end of the day, we're all human, and it's not hard to read the signs. A lot of times we'll be with someone or interact with them, and it's very apparent that we're communicating because we have interest in the other person. And sometimes the other person may not have the same interest in you, but they still communicate with you on certain terms. Getting back with the ex can only be possible if the ex have the same desire like you. That's the only way it's going to happen. It's not going to happen because you want it to happen. You know, I can want to get back with an ex or a particular sister that I was with, but if she don't have the same desire, if she don't want to meet me halfway, or if she don't, you know, even want to talk, then there really is nothing I can do about that. So under those circumstances of how do I make up with my ex, it's not something you could just do, right? It's like it has to be a desire on the other person's part as well. So the only way to successfully make up with an ex is if the ex deep down in their heart want the same thing. Sometimes it's not even really about you making up with the ex and just getting back into a relationship. Sometimes it could be you just making up with the ex and somehow you're both communicating again. Sometimes it's just you communicating and having that communication effect all over again. Sometimes that can happen. And through that sort of communication, it can now open up other doorways. But it first have to start off from communicating because you broke up. So being that you broke up, there was a reason why. If there was a separation, there was a reason why. So it's not like once you interact and make up, all of a sudden now you're in a relationship. It don't work like that because you don't know where they at. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know if they have somebody new. You don't know what's going on. So it's all about taking your time. It's all about allowing the person the space to consider being even around you again. Why should they be around you? Should they trust you? How do they develop that trust? Like, how could they accept you back? Was there any forgiveness? Is there any resentment? What really is going on? What can make them feel comfortable having you back? Whose fault was it? What went wrong? All of those things need to be resolved. So how do you make back up with your ex? It's not an easy thing to do. It has to be a mutual agreement between you and the ex to communicate first. Once you go through the steps of communicating and you're able to speak in a friendly manner and kind of like, hey, you remember when we used to do this and you remember when we used to do that, and it's like you smiling and you know, you kind of just reminiscing. You're like, you know, anyway, nice talking to you. You know, I really appreciate talking to you. Anyway, you have a nice day. You know, we'll talk another time. And you just keep it like that. You know what I mean? It ain't no, oh, I'm coming over your house. We're gonna, you know, get intimate and whatever. It's more or less you respecting each other to the point where it's like, okay, we are communicating. And it feels good to do that. It feels real good to communicate with someone in whom you desire, with someone in whom you was once with, and for whatever reason you want them back. That happens a lot. A lot of times we as men and women, we get involved in relationships and we have separations. You may have been in a relationship, broke up, may have been married, separated, rekindled, whatever you had, or you know, you had some girlfriend or some boyfriend or whatever the situation is, and you separated for whatever reason, and then you kind of rekindled back that flame. It's possible that that can happen, but it must be a mutual agreement between two parties, because a lot of times people, they have these desires. A lot of times you may have a woman and she want to rekindle something with a guy that she probably previously was with, but she don't know how to go about it because she broke up. So it's like, it's a difficult thing because it's like, you want to say something, you want to express how you feel, but you don't want to express how you feel because you don't want to feel a certain way, or you don't want to be hurt, or you just don't want to make the person feel like you miss them. So we go through these little changes, we go through these problems, and it's unfortunate that we have to go through those things, but it's normal because at the end of the day, we're human, and we're trying to figure things out. My only suggestion is that under certain circumstances where you're trying to get back with your ex or you're trying to communicate, is that you begin to express what went wrong, or how can this be better, and how can we communicate where there is no issues. I believe that as adults, even when you have difficulty, even when you had certain issues that may have caused a separation or a divorce or a breakup, I believe that as people, there is a way to communicate to rekindle what may have been lost. I believe that it's a possibility, but it must be a mutual thing. You know, even when you think about going out for dinner or taking a vacation, you both have to talk about it. It has to be a mutual desire. Even during sexual intercourse, you may want to perform a certain sexual act on a woman, but if she don't desire the same sexual act to receive, then that can be a problem. So when it comes to you getting back with your ex, it's going to have to be a situation where they feel the same way you feel. And the only way both of you are going to know how each other feel is by you communicating. It's just as simple as that. A simple message of hello. Or I feel that sometimes life have to play things the way it needs to play. I believe that sometimes you have to have a situation where you might cross paths and it was at the right time. Like you just crossed paths. It just happened spontaneously. You caught eye to eye and you communicated, and it just birthed a whole new adventure. I think that sometimes when that happened, it's the best thing that can happen for both of you, because it's not like you did something and then you had to wait to see what they had to say, or they did something to see what you had to say. But instead, you were both placed in a situation where you had to both say something. And I think that under those circumstances, it will help both of you to break the ice, because it's not a hard. It's I wouldn't say it's not hard, but it's uncomfortable, because, and it's weird too at the same time, because a lot of times both parties feel the exact same way, but neither would make a move. And I think that it's bad when you have a desire or you want to do something and you just don't pursue it because you're concerned about what they may think, or you don't want to be rejected or discouraged, or whatever the case is. So I would recommend, under those circumstances of how to make up with your ex, I think that the best course of action under those circumstances is to communicate with them. To communicate with them with a simple hello, a simple how you doing, or, is it possible to do this or that? Just kind of keep it brief, see how they doing. I'm just checking in on you, see how you doing, whatever the case is. That way the other person can see that you were thinking about them, and it kind of make people feel good to know that you were just checking in on them, because they know deep down inside how they may feel. But if you can both communicate that energy to each other, I think that it will rekindle whatever you may have had with that particular person. So communication is key. Both parties have to be mutually in agreement to want to make up. It doesn't mean that you got back into a relationship. It could just simply mean that you both are talking again. And that's a good start, because if you're both talking again, that is how it's going to rekindle whatever relationship you may have had. So communication is key. Mutual agreement is key. Both parties have to have the same similar desire. And I believe that either one of you must communicate with the others, or a life event where you both crossed paths and was able to communicate with each other face to face. Face to face is always the best option. And I believe that if you and a woman are communicating face to face, it's going to only enhance and cause whatever it is that you desire to be manifested right before your eyes. And it may be as simple as you just seeing each other, talking to one another, and possibly hugging one another. that can actually break the ice forever. And before you know it, you're literally back with each other. And not only would you be back with each other, you would respect each other even more. Because a lot of times we go through things happen, we grow up, we mature, and then we begin to do things better. So I think that respecting one another, being honest, upfront, and communicating and having the same similar mutual agreement or desire for a thing is going to only help under those circumstances. So with that being said, thanks for tuning into the show. Make sure you rate, comment, and subscribe. And I appreciate everybody who support the channel. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. I am out. Peace, everybody. Later.
If you like our content, consider supporting via Cash App at $Ringo TV Raw. Become a patron on patreon.com for exclusive video content not shown on YouTube. You could also support through PayPal at paypal.me/Ringo TV Raw. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified of new content. Follow me on Instagram at Ringo TV Raw.
This is Black Male Advice TV, the only channel on YouTube bringing you the truth 100% raw and uncut.